Warning, this video will contain minor spoilers about the game. There isn't that much that I can spoil about the story, but nonetheless, you've been warned. Lifeless Planet is a game set in an alternate 1980s about an American astronaut reaching the titular planet in search of alien life. But instead, what he finds is, you thought I was going to say the entire plot, didn't you? You probably didn't, but anyway. When I first played the game, I thought it was one of those Unity games. Something like an Astroneer-inspired Mars survival game kind of thing. But what I played was a rather interesting linear platformer. Yeah, really. A 3D platformer. That's a rarity these days. There are many locations to explore on the planet, all with their own individual theme and atmosphere. I'm keeping the footage to the first few levels, so as little is spoiled as possible, but there's far more variety in the stage design than I initially suspected. While I'm on the topic of platforming, if you've played Mario 64, then I feel it's similar, but with less moves possible. All you get is jump, double jump, and picking up items. At least at first. Although it can get frustrating at times, I never felt like the controls or lack of abilities were unplayable. For the most part they worked well enough, and the stage design made up for the seemingly lack of precise platforming abilities. One thing I really came to appreciate about the stage design is the lack of a tutorial, as I feel the best way to learn about something is to just immerse yourself in it. And with this game there is no tutorial at all. There's a few hints about button presses, but nothing about gameplay, because it doesn't need one. When I first saw a platform, my instinct was to obviously jump on it. When I saw a seemingly misplaced boulder, I wanted to try and pick it up or move it. Things like that, which taught me the basics of the game without literally spelling it out to me. There were a few times where I'd get stuck as a result, but it was a lot less than many other platformers I've played. And I'm generally really bad at games, so that doesn't help either. Another thing I really enjoyed about the stages is the huge scale of each stage. I really felt like I was alone on this massive barren planet. It was really cool to see huge caverns, large plains, and many others, without spoiling them. Most of the time I was just looking around and taking in the scenery, but its biggest strength is also its biggest downside, to me personally. The textures and lack of detail were a real disappointment to me, as I think the stage design is by far the best part of this game. So to see N64 textures in something like half the stages at least seems like a weird oversight. The details in the stages don't matter nearly as much to me personally, because the point is that it's, well, lifeless, so there's not much you can add without changing the point of the game. But having at least unique rock formations or some abstract environment art would go a long way. Now I'll talk a bit about the controls. They're a bit jank, to be honest. The movement is fine with the arrow keys or left joystick, but moving the mouse or right stick feels like a PS1 game, where the camera would move with the left and right movement rather than strafing. Although it's not unplayable, as I've said before, it definitely gets in the way when I want to look in a particular direction whilst moving forward. As to do so, I have to fight the controls. I did later find you can change this in the setting, at least I think that's what this is for, but this should not be set as default, in my opinion. Later on in some areas, you can get more fuel with your jetpack, which is usually how you double jump, which will enable you to jump up to about 8 times. I didn't count, but that's my guesstimate. I really look forward to using this because it meant I could jump over really big caverns and more or less fly through the stages. I wish I could equip it for the entire game, as the main character moves at like 4 miles an hour for most of the game. But nonetheless, it was fun whilst it lasted. Before I get onto the other item, I need to mention there is light puzzle solving in this game too, like finding a key or code combination to unlock doors, that kind of stuff. But they are about as basic as it gets, so I'm going to gloss over them. There is also a mini crane that you can use in some of the puzzles to collect these green orb things. I won't say why, as that would be a spoiler. Sick of these spoiler warnings yet? The final aspect I want to talk about is the story. I'm gonna have to mention some minor spoilers here. It's delivered in quite an interesting way, through logs of a Russian scientist, as the Russians got to the planet before the US. The main character also pieces some of the story together throughout the game, along with some of his own personal experiences. I really enjoy how the story is told here. There's a lot of reading to do if you want to. There's even full voice acting in both English and Russian, as far as I know. So that's cool. So that's the video. I sunk about 8 to 9 hours into this game. That's more than most of my Steam library. So as a result, I would say this is about a 6-hour game for most people. Now for the price. I got it free on the Epic Game Store, so obviously grab it if it's free. But I'll say it's worth about £5, so $6.50. Anything more than that and the repetitiveness and the lack of polish really start to stand out. Thanks for watching, and go buy the game for someone. They could do with a gift. See ya.